Howdy, folks. Thanks for stopping by. I was just catching up on some reading in the Bible. I would like to tell you a story that is real and true. It's about a pastor who stole a church and has a criminal record. Some of the information that you are about to hear is uncomfortable but necessary. First, I have created a GoFundMe account in order to raise money to bring this person to justice. The church does not have any insurance for such matters. We have already paid for an attorney who later he could not help us. Hence is why I'm asking for help. As I share my story, you will begin to understand why I have decided to make this video, why this topic is so important, and what you need to know about how corrupt the Christianity industry is. If this is not something that interests you, please feel free to continue on with your YouTube searches, but I hope you'll stay. If you are interested in my story, please feel free to pause this video, grab your favorite beverage or snack, then join me as I begin. Several years ago, the church that I was going to, the pastor decided to leave onto a higher calling. At this point, a new pastor was needed. A person applied, went before the search committee, and an interview was conducted. The search committee did not know how to conduct an interview, let alone ask the right questions. Nevertheless, it was decided that this pastor was to be hired. Here is where the trouble began. In the beginning, things went well, but as time went by, problems began to emerge. About a year later, January of 2024, the board of directors approached the pastor after a Sunday morning service to discuss some issues regarding the church, procedures, policies, bylaws, and conduct. One, the pastor had lied on his resume, does not really know how to conduct a Sunday sermon, has no formal training to be a pastor, and is still an alcoholic, a drug user, not a born-again Christian, to name some issues. At that meeting, things took a turn for the worse. The pastor blew up, started yelling and screaming, accusing everyone with false accusations. After the meeting was over, the board of directors all resigned due to the pastor's behavior. He used intimidation, lies, and bullying. Later, he wrongfully dismissed 2 employees, verbally abused an 80-year-old woman, which gave her a heart attack on church property. His complaint was people refused to follow him. A few months later, he changed all the locks on the entire property and kept all the keys to himself. 1 month later, he put a sign on the property stating he had the legal right to refuse service to anyone. This is illegal. Only the owner of the property can do that. He is just an employee. Next, by standing at the door of a Sunday morning service, he began discriminating against people who could come into the church and could not. He kicked out a group of church ladies who do the decorations for the church during various holidays. In addition, told them to remove all of their property from the church. A few weeks later, I got a phone call from the pastor. He had a complaint, stating that since I could not remain in my seat during church service, I could not come to church anymore. I was recovering from surgery and could not sit for long periods of time. My wife has the same issue. His second complaint to me was to stop hiring young men from the church to do work for me on my property for pay. His answer was this was wrong and it sets a bad example. He has kicked out everyone out of the church, overcharged the Hispanic group rent, who used the church on Sunday afternoon, and kicked out the Salvation Army from one of our buildings. In the beginning, he was told that if he gets hired as an employee, he would have to undergo a criminal background check per our bylaws. He refused. By February 2024, I took it upon myself to have a criminal background check done. I did not need his permission or approval according to the investigative service in my city. The investigation began late February 2024 and ended May of 2024. During the investigation, I was getting updates from the investigator. From what I learned, I realized I quickly hired an attorney. I have found in the investigator's report the pastor and his wife were caught in a welfare fraud scam in my state And he is also wanted by the FBI in questioning on 2 charges of sexual abuse. I have contacted the FBI and informed them where he lives and contact information. I do not know at the time of this video what, if any, is the outcome. By the end of May of 2024, I told the investigative team to stop as the attorney needed the report. This is when we were shocked at what we found. 97 pages and the investigation is still not finished. The pastor and his wife both have criminal records. I immediately spoke with the attorney. What could we do to remove the pastor from the church? At first, a cease and desist order was written and sent. When they got the letter, the pastor and the board of directors ignored it. One person called the attorney to find out what this was all about. The attorney explained the contents of the letter and also informed the caller the pastor was caught drinking. The caller knew all about it, but dismissed it. It seems the people just didn't care that their pastor is still an alcoholic and a substance abuser. The next step was to charge the pastor with a felony stealing the church business. I informed the attorney to go ahead. A week later, the attorney contacted me and with a big, huge surprise, "I can't help you, there's nothing I can do," and hung up the phone. After several thousands of dollars later, the pastor is still in the church doing more damage to this day. I took a break from this issue to gather my thoughts on how to proceed. I found later that the board of directors finally had quit. The pastor appointed his wife treasurer. This means they have complete access to all the money in the bank and no one to stop them from taking it. Next, a rumor that he might try to get the property and sell it. I went to the local county recorder's office and filled out a form called Recorded Document Alert. This will send me an alert if he tries to put the deed into his name or sell the property. A side note, I learned from the recorder's office just how much property theft there really is. I also learned the pastor is going to change the bylaws into his favor and contact the Arizona Corporation Commission and change the church to a foundation in his name. If he succeeds, it's game over. The next day, I filed a criminal complaint with the Attorney General's office in my state. After that, I spoke with an employment attorney about taking this case, only to hear it will cost $50,000 as a retainer and no guarantees. That attorney's last suggestion was to create a GoFundMe account to try to raise money to pay for his legal fees. The link to the GoFundMe account is in the description below. In my research, I have learned that a person who is to be a pastor of a church should undergo training at an educational institute. The education must be in theology, Christianity, and divinity. Graduate, receive a BA degree. This will demonstrate the person has the right education and knowledge to preach the Bible. The pastor has none. He quotes inspirational stories from Reader's Digest. Next, a pastor must do missionary work for a period of time, then go on to being a pastor at a church. Additional note, it has become very apparent in today's times that a pastor can become ordained. You simply go online, answer a few questions, pay approximately $25, and become ordained. This is an outright lie. The only person who can ordain a person or pastor is Jesus Christ or God. This is in the Bible. The only reason for becoming ordained is IRS tax breaks. Anyone who preaches being ordained or faith healing is lying. No one on this earth has that power. The next issue is to look out for is when pastors preach spiritual prosperity. A lot of churches are now preaching this at the end of their sermon. This is also a lie. When you hear a pastor say, God is calling 21 people to give $1,144, you will be rewarded tenfold. This is also a lie. Pastors have become very greedy to support their lavish lifestyle. They know the law will not interfere. It is written in the Bible, tithing to a church is to offset costs, but more importantly, to give to the needy, hungry, oppressed, the destitute, and those in need. This is what the Bible teaches us, not to make pastors rich. The lust for money is the root of all evil. This is written in the Bible. There are many pastors in the mega churches today that own a $5 million home on 17,000 acres. Folks, I wonder what for. They got those homes with your hard-earned money, not the church. I will give you a resource to follow up on this. Next, one pastor of a mega church has purchased 4 airplanes with your money. 2 are jets and 2 are propeller planes. Again, folks, what for? He refused to fly commercially. He claims he won't get into a metal tube with demons. This is exactly what a pastor should be doing. Save the sinners. There have been interviews on TV and YouTube asking pastors about their lavish lifestyles. They have no compulsion for what they are doing. I will provide links to those YouTube videos. What this has all come down to is this: the Christianity industry has become incredibly corrupt, and most of us don't know. I want this to be a wake-up call to anyone and everyone who is willing to listen to my story and others. Start asking questions to find the truth. I have found many videos of church services that folks have become gullible. They tend to believe what the pastor is saying without really knowing what the truth really is. Folks, I wish to encourage you to start seeking the truth for yourself. Let's not be so quick to believe everything you hear just because it sounds good. The Bible is a great source to start with. The Bible is the truth. Never follow a person or a pastor. We follow our Lord Jesus Christ. There is scripture in the Bible. Matthew chapter 7, verse 15 says, "Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothes, but inwardly they are ravening wolves." John chapter 4, verse 1 says, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are of God. For many false prophets have gone out into the world." There are a total of 98 references in the Bible about false prophets. Jesus knew 2,000 years ago there were false prophets then. He tried to warn us and is still trying to. We need to listen. As I start to bring this to an end, let's take a moment and look at our nation's history on cult leaders. Number 1, Jim Jones founded People's Temple, which culminated in a mass suicide in Jonestown, November 18, 1978. Number 2, Sun Myung Moon, leader of the Unification Church, claimed to be the Messiah and second coming of Christ. Eventually died in a hospital August 31, 2012 of multiple organ failure. Number 3, Marshall Applewhite, founder of Heaven's Gate Cult, another mass suicide linked to Hale Bopp Comet. He had mental illness, died March 22, 1997. Number 4, Charles Manson, cult leader, orchestrated violent crimes, also believed he was Jesus, died November 19, 2017. Number 5, David Koresh, leader of Branch Davidian, involved in a deadly standoff resulted in a fire. 80 people died. David Koresh died in the fire April 19, 1993. Number 6, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, founder of Nation of Yahweh, a black nationalist group, died of cancer, claimed he was the reincarnated Messiah. He was charged with racketeering and extortion. Number 7, Ann Hamilton Byrne, a leader of the family cult, practices child abuse and mind control, and had dementia. She died on June 13, 2019, aged 79. Number 8, Joseph D. Mombro and Luke Joret found a murderous doomsday cult. He and followers died 1984, others 1995, more in March 1997. Number 9, Stephen Tari claimed to be Black Jesus, abused young women, died August 29, 2013. Number 10, Carl Drew of Fall River's cult. He was a pimp and a Satanist. He eventually demanded human sacrifices, found guilty, sentenced to life in prison. Number 11, Kirtland cult. Jeffrey Lundgren reorganized the Church of Jesus of Latter-day Saints, killed a family. When caught, he claimed to be the prophet of God. He died October 24th, 2006 by lethal injection in prison. There are other people like them that are still out there. They prey on the gullible, do everything they can to take your money, do mind control, sexual abuse, and eventually convince you to commit suicide just to be with God. We need to be more aware of what is going on, band together to put a stop to this. I will also include a list of YouTube videos that I encourage you to watch. In YouTube, search for Mega Rich Pastors. These videos expose the corruption of mega churches. Next, search for famous pastors caught in perverted acts. Another video to watch is full interview preacher Kenneth Copeland defends lavish lifestyle by a reporter from Inside Edition. Note, an article on the church tax and law stated a pastor had his board of directors rewrite their bylaws so he could not be fired. In exchange, he gives the board of directors $1 million package every year. Guess where your money is going, folks? Source comes from churchtaxandlaw.com website. Please go there. Other YouTube videos to watch who tell you the truth and who are not false prophets. Joel Kramer, his channel is called Expedition Bible. Justin Peters, Charles Stanley. I do recommend that you should follow or at least become acquainted with these people. It is also said that you do not have to go to church just to worship the Lord. You can find a quiet place in your home to worship. Another option, you can watch televised sermons on TV from your home as they are broadcasted. Some churches record their service, then upload to YouTube. You can watch their service later. This will save you a trip, gas, and you can have your favorite coffee while wearing your slippers. Here is also a website you can go to and research, www.churchtaxandlaw.com. I highly recommend. Also in the description there are some articles to read about pastors who get rich and how to remove them. One statistic report says pastors are fired at the rate of 1,500 per year. Folks, this tells us something. Lastly, tithing. I wish to encourage folks to rethink tithing. Yes, a church does need money in order to operate in today's time and give to outreach programs. However, 2,000 years ago, tithing was and is to give 10% of your crop. Those who did not have a crop gave 10% of their goods to the church. Those that did not have goods gave money to the church. Again, so the church could help the needy, hungry, oppressed, destitute, and the injured. It is not to make the pastor or the church wealthy. Let's rethink tithing. If you are not sure about this topic, please research the Bible. Talk to your pastor. There are also other ways to tithe, such as giving of your time, participating in church outreach, helping others in need, and church activities. You are ultimately giving 10% of your time to the Lord. It still counts. Let's not give money just for the sake of giving money, thinking I've done my job. You stand a higher chance of your money going into the pastor's pocket. I hope in some small way this video has enlightened you. We can make a difference in the world we live in. Let's come together, put a stop to false prophets who are getting rich on our money. Help me reclaim a church, be seekers of the truth, and rejoice in the Lord as we cast Satan out of the Lord's house. If you are not a believer, that is your choice. You may want to visit the Bible from time to time for a different point of view. I have found it is a great source of wisdom. It can help you learn how to be a better human being, how to handle life or strife. Perhaps you may look at it as a source of psychology, a different way to look at life, different perspective, and a different belief. This can help you in your journey through life, even though you may not be a believer. Please, don't be afraid of the Bible. It is there to help. Please join me in the reclaiming a church back and to put a criminal, hopefully behind bars, before someone gets hurt instead of a heart attack. If you wish, you can click the link below to go to the GoFundMe page. There you may find additional information and how to donate to this cause. You will get updated reports as they happen. If I am unsuccessful in raising funds, then in time, we will have to give up this pursuit and the pastor gains control over the church and we lose and there's no justice. Another one got away with a crime. It does say in the Bible not to get involved. If you do, it could come back on you. You don't want to do anything that is against the law, and especially against God's law or commandments. However, there is such a thing as fighting the good fight the right way. Read up on Moses, David, and Goliath. These are men who fought the good fight the right way and won. I thank you for your time in watching this video. I hope this video will start a movement for Americans to take back one of our most sacred rights, our right to religion, and to tell the government it's time they need to step in, change the laws, and stop the corruption. Our country, folks, is falling apart. We need to stand up to the nonsense and let our leaders know enough is enough. There is only one truth in this world. If we choose to ignore it, guess what happens, folks? Chaos. I wish you peace, long life, and above all, go with God. Links are in the description. If you wish to contact me, you may do so through my GoFundMe page. Link below. Before I go, I'd like to leave you with one final thought for the day, and that is, the greatest disease known to man is hatred. The cure is love. It's what the Bible teaches. So long, folks, and thanks for coming by.